Hello, welcome to FlowerJoos. My name is John McDonald, and today we're going to make a table arrangement that would be ideal for going on a dining room table. So the container that we're going to use is actually this tray that I found in IKEA. Now this has got the name Updatera, Uppdatera, and I really like this because it's quite a practical sort of a tray to have, but also a really useful tray maybe for making flower arrangements as well. So this is going to be our base for our design, and the good thing with this is it's got a little bit of depth, so it'll hold a little bit of water. Now what I want to use as a mechanic is some of this plastic coated wire. Now this is something I've made good use of, and if you're going to make flowers for at home or in a church where you're not giving them away necessarily, but you're able to reuse, then this is an ideal way of supporting your flowers. So this is just, I think, a 2 centimeter grid plastic coated wire. It's got quite good flexibility and it's perfect for making a base for flowers. So what I'm going to do, or what I've done with it, is I've created like a little inner tube, which I've kind of squared off roughly, so it's kind of 2 by 2 by 2, and then I've just gone round it again to make another area. Now the reason for that is that when you put a stem through then, what you're going to get is you're going to get, the flowers can touch 2 or 3 points, and that's really going to give it support. So we're going to use that as our mechanic in there, but we don't want this moving around. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a little bit of florist tape. So if we turn this over, and feed it through. This is one of these things that I could have done it in advance, but I think it's interesting to see how things actually get done. So to use a Scottish word, this is an absolute footer, which means it's a bit of a palaver, a bit of a hassle. But now we can add our base. So really, once we put materials into the actual dish, it'll start to have enough structure that it will not move around anyway. And if you're going to do something like this, then the main thing you want to do is make sure that your dish is dry. If your dish had any moisture, it's not going to take the tape as well. And this is just going to disappear. So that is our base. So as you can see, it's nicely in there. We've got a bit of space there to add materials. It's not going to fall out, but if it does become loose, then by the time we add our materials and put it in position, then it's going to be fine. But I think these floral pot tapes are really, really strong. And as I say, if you have this dry, then it should be fine. So the first thing we need to do then is add some water. We need to have a water source for our materials. And I'm just going to put a little bit in now. If you were doing this for yourself, then what you can do is you can put a little bit in, create your design, and then add a little bit more. As long as the flowers or the foliage touch to the bottom of the container or below the surface level, then you know they're in water. So we had quite a lot of wind the other day, and we had a big bit of a tree came down, and I've got quite a lot of conifer. So I'm going to just use pieces from that fallen tree to create a bit of a base for our design. So this is going to be wintry, but with a touch of flower that makes it not necessarily purely wintry. But then we are going to add a little bit of sparkle as well. So you can see that grid just holds our pine quite happily. What I'm doing is I'm just taking off these lower needles. The less needles that are in the water, then the better this is going to last. when foliage sits into the water, that's when it'll start to go off, it'll start to create bacteria in the water, and that will affect the life of your design. Now, I also have some beautiful spruce. This is like a blue spruce, and it's just going to give us a bit of a contrast. One thing is it's quite jaggy. But it has got the most beautiful colour. So this just takes a little bit of time just to work our way around. And what we're really doing is we're trying to create a framework for our flowers. I do say that quite a lot, but it is important. But also to hide that connection between the vase and the edge. So if we do that just now, then we're going to get a good result. Now you might want to wear garden gloves if you're handling this type of material. You will get resiny and you will get jagged a little bit as well. If you're only doing one design, then it's not really a worry. But just to be aware that they are a little bit spiky. But that's okay. The great thing with this kind of foliage is that it really lasts well. So we could make this in advance and then just finish decorating it for when we need it. Just put it outside or somewhere cold and it'll really be happy for weeks. And I'm just going to vary this a little bit so we get a little bit of height. It's very easy to put things in such a consistent way that actually it can look just unnatural because it's too correct. Having a little bit of variation will give a design a bit more movement and a bit more interest and definitely make it look more natural. You can see that we're just creating this base for our design. Now, we can start to add our other elements. I've got a few dried hydrangea that I just want to pop in. I think this also helps to base the design, creates a little bit of change in texture as well. We're not going to put too much. I just want to really bring in a different element with that. And then for our flowers, I have the most beautiful pink roses. Now, I'm afraid I don't know the name of these roses, but they really are a beautiful variety. I do know that they're Colombian roses. And I'm just cutting them and placing them. So we're going to reseed some, or recess some, and then we'll have some a little bit longer. So again, just like we did with the foliage, we want to create a natural look by putting them in different ways. And really from this, we want things to look out or look up. We want them to radiate from our design. Now with a design like this, you can add any kind of elements you want. What I really wanted to show was that we don't have to use floral foam to create a design. We can actually use something that we might already have in the garden or in the greenhouse, a little bit of that netting. And really, I bought a roll of that and I've had so much use out of it for flowers. It's been great. Keep this one to the centre because it just is so beautiful. It has had a little touch of water on it, so that can give them little marks, which is a shame. Now, I do want to add a little touch of tillandsia. I've got a few tillandsias that I've got in my bathroom, and I think just adding them is going to create a little bit of contrast and also a little bit of interest. And we're also going to add a few baubles. So we are going to make this Christmassy. We don't need to wire them. They will just sit in. And I'm just going to put them in such a way that the hanging bit goes to the back. And I do have some little wire mesh balls as well. So these are the kind of things that you see them in craft shops. You pick them up and you go, I know I will use them. I don't know when, but I will use that. And now is the time. So we're just creating a bit of interest with our balls. So I've got different sizes and also in colours that are suitable and toning as well. Now, because we've got one of the metal balls on one side, we'll put one to the other side as well. So that is most of our arrangement done. I do want to add just the cutest little chrysanths. And these are really just little garden ones, but they have such an interesting two-way colour that it's worth bringing them in just as a little point of interest. But really for this kind of design, what I'm trying to do is show you how simple it is to make something for going on your table. And it's up to you what materials you have or find. You don't have to be particularly set on one thing or another. What you can do is just see what you have, but just try and find ones that really tone together and create a bit of interest. But these are really sweet. I need to ask the person who's got them to actually give me a little bit of that plant. So you can make a design like this as simple or as complicated as you want. One thing I do want to put in is a little bit of rosemary. So with this going on a table, I think the rosemary works really well. And it also brings a fragrance to the design that we wouldn't have had. So we're just upping the game by adding that extra element. And it actually ties in quite nicely with the tillandsias. So we've got our little bit of rosemary. And as you can see, all these little changes in heights and texture and sizes, this is what brings interest into something that you're creating. So I do have a few of these little flower heads that are dry as well, and we're just going to bring a few of them in as well. So these are dried, but we've already got the dried hydrangea, and it's not going to be an issue bringing in something else that is dry. And we'll just work them in. So I'm going to keep these more consistent in a vertical placement. And again, that's giving us a contrast to what we have going on in the rest of the design. Now, don't use swivel. So I think you can see that it's easy to create something that actually looks really quite luxurious and sumptuous without literally having too much materials. Like we've got some beautiful roses and they're nice, good size, uh, but the actual arrangement itself is quite straightforward. We've created a lot of impact with the big flowers and bringing in this colour scheme as well. It's a little bit unusual. We've got the base of our foliage that's creating a strong structure to hold our flowers. And then we've got our tillandsias giving us a different element and creating interest. And the final touch was these little dried seed heads that are just creating an absolute contrast again with our heavier base material. So this is a design that I think would look great on a dining room table. And obviously you can set the table to suit and to coordinate with that. Now, I hope you've enjoyed today's design. I hope I've inspired you to maybe have a go. If you're not someone who's ever tried to make an arrangement, but you're interested in maybe creating something, then just give it a go. To be honest, the enjoyment is really in the creating, and don't worry too much about the end result. If you've enjoyed making it and it fits on the table and it fits your colour scheme, then that's good. Go with that and enjoy what you create. So we've got new videos on a regular basis. We'd love you to join us for future designs. If you've not already subscribed, then it would be amazing if you could. It really helps our channel. And if you can click that like button, that's even better as well. Now, if you're up for a little bit more inspiration, have a look in the description box with this video. Just click on the title and we'll post a link for one of our other videos as well. So until the next time, take care and we hope to see you soon.